Arsenal 2, Brentford 0. Wasn't pretty, but you know what? It doesn't have to be. 3 points, clean sheet, job done for Arsenal. Let's get into it. There's a lot to talk about. This is the Real Arsenal Deal podcast. Welcome back to the Real Arsenal Deal. Rav here, as always, your host. How is everyone today? I hope wherever you are in the world, you're well. I'm recording this about 25 minutes after the final whistle. Arsenal have just been victorious, 3 more points, clean sheet, 2-0 winners. It wasn't as pretty as I would have preferred, and maybe as many of you would have preferred, but you know what? We had to capitalize here. We had to bank the 3 points. The fixtures are coming in thick and fast. We must just get back to that momentum after a couple of recent draws. We had a huge week last week, seeing us conquer Bayern Munich and Spurs. The draw against Chelsea, you've heard what I had to say. Hopefully you've heard what I had to say about that a few days ago. I'm completely fine with it, completely fine. In fact, at the time of recording this, Melbourne time, Chelsea and Leeds are still playing. I had a quick look at the score before I came here. Apologies if I've got the final score wrong. I mean, by the time you listen to this, you will probably know, but I think Leeds are doing a number over Chelsea at the moment, and it just speaks to the unrelenting nature of football. I think Chelsea were really, really up for it over the weekend. They'd sort of G'd themselves up for Arsenal are a big ticket in town, the league leaders, a young emerging team. It's like, let's see what we got. Let's throw everything at them. And then, as can happen with young emerging teams, it's happened to Arsenal too, that just a few days later, there's not the same intensity. There's not the same level of response. They're flat. So the point I'm going with this is that the Premier League is a marathon. It's not a sprint. We shouldn't be too despondent about that point, because just a few seasons ago, under that pressure, under that spotlight, that intensity from opposition fans and teams, very, very physical games, Arsenal would have lost that. Arsenal would have lost at Sunderland too. So all of a sudden, we've reverse engineered these things. We've come out of there. We haven't been perfect, and we don't need to be, but we've given as good as we've got. We've copped, but we've stood up and copped it. But we've come away with a point. We've come away, and you do this enough times over a Premier League season. That's an extra 5-6 points that you really have to ground out, that you really have to graft for. And we did it against Sunderland, and we did it against Chelsea. So I'm completely fine with those results, by the way. What's so important, though, upon reflection is that if you want to win the Premier League, which Arsenal absolutely do, there's no doubt about that, then you've got to respond and you've got to win these games at home to Brentford a few days later. You just have to. That's the unrelenting nature. That's the demands of the Premier League. And we hear often Mikel Arteta talk about those demands, what it takes, that level of suffering involved if you want to lift that major trophy at the end, which of course we are on track for, and I can see it coming together. But this is another important step in that journey. You have to win these matches. You have to bank the 3 points and move on, because just in a few days' time, we have another big match away to Villa. The matches are coming in thick and fast. You have to manage the emotions, manage players, manage the squad, manage their minutes while still getting the job done. So I'm completely fine, by the way. I know many might have criticisms about the performance and whatnot, and we'll get into a few points, because we should have been further ahead. It shouldn't have taken that injury time goal to Bukayo Saka to seal the 3 points. I think we all know that, but they're out on their feet at the moment. Arsenal, they're emptying the tank out there. Some players really need a sit down, but we can't really do it yet. Mikel Marino will talk about Declan Rice. There's a couple of more injury concerns as well. Mosquera coming off. So I'll cover a few of those things in a moment. But the point I want to just round off right now, that hopefully you're understanding it, because sometimes in these post-match instant reaction style videos, I don't quite, get my processing of thoughts correct and articulate as I'd like them to be. But the point I'm trying to make is not every match needs to be memorable. You may have heard me talk about that before. Not every single match that we need to remember. Let me just have a quick scan back over the course of this season. If you were to ask me, do I remember the wins over Burnley, over West Ham, over Crystal Palace? I've been scratching my head to remember too much of those matches. I know we won, of course. Crystal Palace, of course, I know it was the Eza goal. That was the winning goal, as it turned out. But otherwise, I wouldn't be able to tell you too many things aside from the scores, the results, clean sheets. I can't remember too much about in-game moments, the rhythm of the match, the performance of certain players. It's more overall like an overall picture that we got the job done and we move on. Over the course of the season, there's 50, 55 plus matches over the course of the season, right? Such is the unrelenting nature of football. Not every single match needs to stand out in the memory. Castle away, of course. You're going to have those moments throughout the season, and they punctuate the season. They propel momentum. They really leave their imprint long, long after, especially the way we won that match at Newcastle. Gabriel's last minute header from the corner, of course. And over title-winning seasons, hopefully this is a title-winning season, you're going to have standout games like that. But then you're also going to have a host of matches that you don't really remember. I don't remember too much about the Invincibles season, to be completely honest. I mean, again, I remember a handful of games and moments, but throughout the course of those 38 games, the nature of the task ahead is that we just got to get the job done. We grind out wins. We don't have to be perfect. What we need to do, though, is make sure that we maximize points, that we bank those 3 points and move on. And in this match, sure, there were moments that were a bit frustrating to watch, a bit uneasy on the eye, a couple of nervous moments. Brentford a very good team, by the way. My first real close look at them this season. I know they cause a lot of problems for Arsenal in the past under Frank Thomas. Quite a physical team as well. What was really interesting when I look at, when you see them in the tunnel and you line up on the pitch, they're quite tall. They're quite a well-built. They have a lot of height in their team as well. So there are good teams everywhere across the Premier League. Nothing is earned. We're not entitled to anything. You have to deserve to win every single match. And Brentford caused problems. An incredible save by David Raya, I must say, in that opening half. He kept them out. It was a fantastic header and it was going in either side of him. But David Raya comes up in big moments. And again, in big title-winning seasons, you need your goalkeepers. When it's their turn to go, to stand up and do something. And David Raya, he does it time and time again. He will get his flowers. If we do what we all hope that we achieve, Raya will get his flowers in terms of his standing amongst that elite tier of goalkeepers. There's only a small handful of them across Europe and the world, but once we get there, once we lift those trophies, Raya will be right up there in that reputation, in that standing. So I'll get to the lineup in a moment. In fact, I'll just do it now. So a great opportunity for some starts for White, Madueke and Martinelli came in. A good opportunity here for Saka to sit down, Timber to sit down, which unfortunately wasn't quite the night off for Timber, as we all hoped, because he was needed with the Mosquera injury. Martinelli came in on the left. Could we have made more changes? Well, this is the thing now. It's like yes and no. I mean, we could have started Norgard on this, and we could have started Gyökeres, but maybe it's one of those things like then you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you take Declan Rice out, and we get run over through midfield, then the question marks will be, well, how come you got Rice on the bench and we're getting overrun? Norgard isn't quite up to it. I get that. Mikel Merino, he deserves his own segment in a moment, by the way. But just going back to what I was saying before about height and set pieces and aerial dominance, dual winning, you need Rice there. You need Merino. He's a phenomenal player. He's putting together a remarkable season. A goal and assist for Mikel Merino. I mean, what can you do? He's almost starting striker at the moment. Gyökeres is going to have to earn that place back. Same with Jesus is back on the bench now as well. Havertz was pictured in the stands. He'll be back in a few weeks' time. In fact, I believe it's towards maybe the end of the year, early next year, in fact, early in the new year when he's back. So we're going to have options, but for now, you kind of need your best players on the pitch. Merino is certainly one of them. So is Rice. So we can't afford to make a host of changes. In the Carabao Cup or maybe next week against Club Brugge in the Champions League, we've earned our way to be able to rotate more than a few changes. But 3 changes for Mikel to make for a Premier League match, that's probably about the extent that he's going to feel comfortable in doing. And good on him, right? Because we haven't really seen Arsenal's big squad, Jim. We've seen it on paper, of course, and it sounds incredible on paper. I mean, we've all had that conversation, right? When every player is fit, who gets squeezed off the bench? We start to think, okay, there's no spot for one area. Maybe Little Skelly down, of course, is probably the first one who will be squeezed off the substitute bench. But just we have players back, but then we lose more players to injury. So it's a bit of a myth at the moment. It's a bit of a mythical sort of scenario that are we ever going to have that full squad on paper? Because we get players back, and then we get the likes of Gyökeres and Jesus back on the bench. Trossard's out, and then we have those injuries shift from forward, a number of forward injuries at the same time. Now we've got that problem in defence. 3 centre halves out. We lost Gabriel, Saliba recently, Mosquera and Declan, a relatively new pairing in terms of centre half pairing, equipping themselves very, very well. By the way, they were doing fine again in this match. They were standing up to the duels, the physical nature of the contest. Hincapié relishes in that. By the way, he seems to really, really be up for that. But then, unfortunately, there was that innocuous looking landing for Mosquera from jumping from a header, and then and I don't quite know what it is. Yeah, but is it a knee injury that he was pointing to or something? And seeing him hobble off, the images didn't look good as well. Maybe it's just Arsenal injury-related trauma. I always go to worst-case scenario or something, because wasn't there a moment a few months ago, just before halftime as well, when Madueke had a bit of a knock, or it didn't look too bad. Watching it, of course, but that doesn't speak to anything really. You don't know what's actually happened to the player. But Madueke then, he looked a bit ginger, sort of shaking his head. He came off, and he's out for 2 months. I mean, this is just, in a way, does it feel like we're cursed, or is this happening everywhere across the league? There's so much football. It's such a fast-paced game now. The intensity, the energy levels, the fitness levels required, the demands on players. Is this just happening everywhere, that players come and go all the time? You get a few players back, but then 2, 3 more go down. It's really, really frustrating. Really frustrating. So Timber was needed. It wasn't quite the full rest managing his minutes as we'd like, especially with Villa on the weekend looming. All of a sudden, it's another new centre-half pairing, Timber and Hincapié. Calafiori at left back, and then Ben White at right back. So White had an excellent game, I think. I think he and Madueke in the first half really dominated. We were very right side dominant this match. A lot of our good work, in fact, all of our good work came in on the right. And that's where the opening goal came. How good is it to see White doing his thing again? When he skips forward, cuts around on the outside of the right winger, goes on the overlap and crosses balls in. How many times do we see that? It was fantastic to see. That's Ben White at his best. With that engine, that drive, he can just charge forward ahead. He's very difficult to mark because you don't know is he coming inside, outside. And what a lovely bit of play, bit of skill from Madueke. Very, very crafty work. It was a beautiful little back heel. Was it back heel, I guess, or a flick? Plays it into White, who just skips down. You're not going to stop him in that position. And how's the finish from Merino? I mean, I've said it time and time and time again. If you want someone on the end of those balls and the end of those crosses, it's Mikel Merino. And that was a class finish. That is an absolute class. He's headed it down, makes it so difficult for the goalkeeper. I said this after the Newcastle match, the way he headed that ball into that deep corner. This is the type of thing I used to see Alan Shearer do. He knows before the ball's coming, he knows where he's going to place it in the goal. Like that goal from Merino against Newcastle, he knows exactly where he's going when he's flicked it back into that far corner. Unsavable. And here again, you're not going to save that. You're not going to keep that out. Here's what I'll say about Mikel Merino. The man is like Thanos. He is inevitable. In the air, by foot, whether midfielder or striker, goal, assisting, the man is inevitable. What actually is he? We don't know. Is he truly a number 9? Is he a box-to-box midfielder? Is he creative number 10? What actually is he? But I don't know. What I can say with assurance, though, that he's integral to Arsenal. The man is inevitable. Put him on the pitch, and he's got end product all over him. A goal and assist today. Just as I was thinking, what an opportunity to sit him down, and maybe Gyökeres can get 60 to 70 minutes or so, and let's see if we can get 20 minutes or so from Jesus or something like that. How wrong I was. Mikel Merino is absolutely pivotal to this current modern-day Arsenal side. good on him. I mean, what an unbelievable goal scoring record he's had in 2025. He scored more goals from his head than Haaland. That's no mean feat in the Premier League. So this man, we just got to give him his flowers. I mean, he's a phenomenal output player, and you can see how much is respected by Arteta and within the group. Senior international, very experienced footballer, and I just feel better with him on the pitch. And that's. I don't really know what else I can really say other than that. But with Mikel Merino on the pitch, I have a greater sense of assurance about how they're going to play. And look, good on him. More of this, please, and hopefully he's good to go on the weekend along with Rice, because these two, in terms of that spine of Arsenal, especially without Saliba or Gabriel at the moment, we need them on the pitch, and I can see why Arteta played them yet again in this match. So a few thoughts now on the second half. I thought Brentford were very, very good in the opening of the second half. Arsenal really faded. I think over the course of the match, the impact of Madueke faded as well, and White on that right-hand side. Brentford, whatever they said at halftime, that they were doing, they were right up for it. The start of that second half, we struggled to get rhythm, to get momentum. It would have been great just to have a spell, even after we scored our opening goal, just to have a good spell of possession, just to knock the ball around, suck the life out of the opposition, just take 3, 4, 5 minutes off the clock by just retaining the ball, moving it around, stretching their press. We just couldn't quite get that. A couple of just cheap and easy giveaways and turnovers, which we know how much it drives Arteta nuts. Even in that second half, when Brentford were quite dominant in terms of possession, we would get the ball back and we'd string a couple of passes sideways. There was one that I saw Arteta throw his arms up in the air when Martinelli was played inside, but he just turned into the central area, in the danger area, not knowing who's behind him, and gave the ball away immediately. And it's just frustrating moments like that we just couldn't quite get that rhythm going. Of course, that lack of cohesion comes from a number of things. We've got so many new combinations out there on the pitch, from defence all the way through. The chopping and changing of players, injuries, players stepping in and out, that naturally has an impact on rhythm. So of course, that's a reason. But also Brentford played well. We have to give more credit to the opposition. Just too often as Arsenal fans, maybe all fans do this, but I just see a tendency to criticise Arsenal and the way we play, and just really finding fault with that. But you know what? Just a bigger picture, a bit more of a growth mindset. Perhaps there's more perceived pressure than what we're watching on the TV screens. Perhaps the opposition are doing really well to stifle us and to suffocate us, and just put your hand up and just say, that's football. If you want to win what we want to win, we have to go through these moments. We have to grind out through these moments. And thankfully, we didn't concede any major big chance. Ryder wasn't really caught into any major action, and we fought our way back into it. They made a triple change, and I was very pleased to see that Arteta responded in the same passage as well, actually. We brought on Eza and Saka. Good call to bring off Martinelli. I don't think he had a great game. Didn't really notice him too much in the first half, especially. We played more so on the right-hand side than we did the left. So Eza coming on, that was great. Saka coming on. It's great to have the squad now that we Martinelli and Madueke can soak up an hour off the legs of Eza and Saka, who played a lot of football lately, and we can still come out and get the win. So that speaks to why we've invested as heavily as we can. Because if you can't do that in matches like this and still get the job done, then real question marks have to be asked about why did we invest so heavily in the number of players. Or brought in 8 players over the summer. So this is what we want to see. This is great. So also give Arteta his credit here as well. He sensed what was happening. We needed refreshing. We needed some renewal on the pitch. We were fading a little bit. Get that injection. And can you imagine from the opposition point of view that you see the subs board go up, and you see the likes of Madueke and Martinelli go off, and it's like, oh, sense of relief, they're coming off. But look who's coming off. Ebere, Eza, and Bukayo Saka. I mean, it's beautiful. This is a level up. This is the power up of Arsenal now that I'm here for it. We all hopefully are here for it, because that's the nature when we can impact matches now. We bring on the likes of those two, and immediately we saw a spring in the step of Arsenal. We grew back into the match. Fury was our major goal threat, really, alongside Merino. He's had 2 shots on goal that is well crafted. He's cutting onto his right foot. I think both were right foot shots. I mean, this guy's an amazing foot, such a versatile attacking weapon. 2 good saves he drew out. I think the second one, he shot straight at the goalkeeper. A few what if moments. This will be a regret when the players rewatch this match, and Arteta would be saying this to them as well, that it should have been 2-0 well before. I think he stuffed one from a rebound. He missed a Saka as well right before he ended up scoring. Should have nailed it off a rebound. There was half an appeal for a penalty with Marino being brought down. You know what? When I look at the replay, if that was a player who made a real song and dance about it, like threw their hands up and dramatically fell over and shouted and protested, maybe it would have been a penalty because there was contact. There was contact. For me, though, fine that it's no penalty. I don't want to see penalties given for that. It was pretty minimal in the grand scheme of things. But I tell you what, if that was a player like who springs to mind? Well, Caicedo springs to mind, of course, with his theatrics, his pathetic theatrics the other day playing the victim. But even a player like João Pedro, right, who goes down under such minimal contact. I mean, sometimes you think they've been shot. The way they reacted, the way they collapse on the ground, they need to be airlifted out by an ambulance with the way they fake injuries. But then they're up 30 seconds later, all seems fine. But have you made a bit more of a meal of that? I don't know. Perhaps something could have come, but thankfully it's all moot now. As time ticked on, a few more edgy, nervous moments. I really thought we needed that second goal. And I saw 6 minutes go up on the board. I'm thinking, how did they get 6 minutes on this one? Especially when you look at the Chelsea match, all their time wasted in the second half, and there was only 4 minutes. But look, these are all just minor complaints. Thankfully, within the opening minute or so of injury time, Bukayo got in on the left. Sorry, he got down on the right-hand side again, cut into his left foot, I was trying to say. Took the shot, could have played Gyökeres in, but took the shot. Well saved by Kelleher. His instant sort of save, but it lobbed over its head and has clearly gone in. And the moment I saw that the referee looked at his watch to signal the goal, I celebrated. That was that. Job done. 2-0 to Arsenal. A deserved victory. Wasn't pretty, but look, it doesn't have to be, like I've always said. Yeah, we got what we needed. Great to get a clean sheet as well. That's snuck under the radar. We've been conceding a few goals lately after an excellent run of clean sheets in the month or two prior. So it's great to get that. I'm going to bring this one to a close. Thank you so much for listening, as always. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Let me know how you feel. Thank you for all the new followers and new activity I'm receiving lately. It's greatly appreciated. Please, if you're listening on audio platforms, please follow the show, leave me a 5-star review, and reach out with any questions or comments. I read every single word. Thank you so much, Arsenal fans. Rejoice in this. We got what we needed. And on to another big match. The schedule is just unrelenting. Big match this weekend away at Aston Villa. Let's hope Mosquera is okay. Let's hope Rice is okay. And we can go there and continue this momentum. So I'll be back on shortly after then. I'll speak to you all soon. Thanks again for watching and listening. Look after yourselves. Check in with your loved ones. And come on, Arsenal.